Representative Marsh.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Colleagues, sometimes in life, our complacent routines can be shattered by the sudden presence of another person's pain. That happened to me one dark night last January. I was at home with my husband in Ashland, getting ready for bed, when we heard a sharp crack just outside the bedroom window. We didn't react at first, but then we figured out that something had happened. Sprawled across the curb, just across the residential street, was the body of a man, a neighbor we'd never met. The loud crack we'd heard was the sounds of the gun he'd used to shoot himself in the temple. We described the gunshot to police officers, but we couldn't identify the body. For a while, we stood silently with a few neighbors watching the cops at work. But then we went back inside and lay in bed, distracted by the red and blue flashes from the emergency vehicles that continued to bounce around our walls for hours. And in the morning, everything was gone. No cops, no hazard tape, no evidence of the life ended just a few hours earlier. A neighbor I didn't know, a moment of despondency, and a tragic outcome. We put flowers on the curb. I found out later that there were 2 suicides that night in our small town. To my knowledge, neither of those suicides made the paper. We don't talk about suicide. In part, that's our attempt to protect the privacy of the individual or his family. But it's also very much a reflection of our own deep discomfort and despair. In the heart of my neighborhood, someone felt so alone, so unable to see hope that he took his own life. How do I talk about that? And what can we do as a community to take better care of each other? This week, media across Oregon have come together to shine a light on the issue. The goal is to get us to look at suicide and then to help us understand how to reach out. Suicide rates are increasing everywhere, and Oregon's rate has been higher than average for decades, especially in our rural communities. But it turns out that prevention, including targeted interventions and suicide screenings, work. We need to understand this public health crisis, and we need to know that hope and the possibility of healing are very much a part of that story. But the first step is lifting the silence. This week's collaborative media campaign will prompt important conversations in communities all over the state. Coverage is compiled in total at breakingthesilenceor.com. If we all pay attention, this could be the week that we lift the stigma and start talking honestly about dealing with the pain that is often a part of life. Because as I learned on a cold night last winter, we need to do better.